Welcome to Truth2Power for You. I'm your host, Brian Kasher. While corporate media is generating profit covering the daily distractions, Truth2Power for You is about organizing for action. Truth2Power for You is a how-to program produced for you, the person whose heart is into improving the human condition. Each Truth2Power for You program features interviews with organizers, musicians, and/or artists who share their ideas and methods to help you foster change in your own corner of the world. Our featured interview for this episode is Terry Lansdale of Clean Air Carolina. Terry discusses Clean Air Carolina programs, especially their new exciting citizen science program called Air Keepers. The musical guests for this program are Zach Thomas and the Healthcare Singers with their folky hit, Make American Healthcare for All. So, who's this guy Brian? Well, my own advocacy has included things like testifying at local boards, authoring legislation sponsored by Democrats and Republicans, signed into law by the way, organizing citizens and scientists to change environmental regulations in the District of Columbia, submitting testimony to congressional oversight committees and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, for instance. Let's not forget writing letters to the editor and more. So, here's the thing. Truth2Power for You is not about me. Truth2Power for You offers real-life examples of people who successfully improved the human condition. It's about inspiring ideas of how you can secure change in your part of the world. Hey, speaking of that, please let us know where you're watching from and what issues are important in your area in the comments section. And if you like our Facebook page, you'll be notified when additional episodes of the program are released. Well, let's roll. You've heard about members of Congress holding town halls around the country, right? Yeah, they're popping up all over. Well, let's watch here as a group of local people ask for their member of Congress to hold a local town hall meeting open to all.
We're here today because we wanted to hand deliver a letter to Congresswoman Adams.
What we're asking for is a town hall to give every citizen of the 12th district an opportunity to not only hear her vision for our area, but also to ask questions and to pressure her if necessary. And so now at this time, we're going to be entering the building to hand deliver our letter, our request for a town hall meeting to ensure that every citizen has the right to hear from our Congresswoman, but more importantly, they have the right to ask the questions they need to ask.
We would love an opportunity to have a town hall meeting with Congresswoman Adams. That would afford us to all hear her vision, clearly, but more importantly, that every citizen would have an opportunity to ask the questions they want to ask. Some may be very hard questions, but at the end of the day, it's better for all citizens of Charlotte, especially of the district, District 12, a district that I personally belong to. And so I would hope that you would accept this letter,
Absolutely.
which is the official request.
Okay.
And I'm willing to sit with you to figure out a date, time, location that we have this happen as soon as possible.
Okay.
Sooner better than later, because you know the climate that we're in right now.
Remember, in America, you have the right to ask and to speak your piece. Next up is this episode's featured interview with Terry Lansdale of Clean Air Carolina. Terry stopped over to discuss advocacy, environmental health, and citizen science programs designed to improve the human condition. Here's Terry.
How are you today, Brian? Thanks for having me.
Hey, Terry. What attracted you to this type of work?
Wow, it began as an evolution. I came from the cycling community. I rode a bike, and when I first moved to Charlotte, I rode a bike everywhere. For many years, it was my only form of transportation. Cycling increases your airflow, your lungs become essentially air scrubbers. We want to have clean transportation options, so we tried to clean transit, cleaner buses, light rail came along. Understanding that as an athlete and as a transit user, I said the connection there is air. And I became an air quality advocate.
Coming forward a little bit, can you share, in general, what's Clean Air Carolina doing, and what about medical advocates? What's this all about?
Sure. Well, Clean Air Carolina began about 15 years ago now by June Blotnick as an outshoot of the Sierra Club, trying to focus an organization exactly on air quality issues. When we first started this, the majority of our pollution came from energy generation units. So I think in our area we had maybe 6 or so coal plants that were affecting our community. One right across the river in Gaston County called Riverbend, which is now retired. We saw a major improvement over the past 5 years since its retirement and the quality of the air we breathe. So that's pretty amazing to see this change away from coal to more green energy, or at least renewable energy or cleaner energy. Now we're not there yet, but we're trying to get there. But Clean Air Carolina, when we started our organization, a segment started to appear in our mailings, and our contacts, and our advocates, and they all seem to have these extra initials by their names. MD, Masters of Public Health, MPH, nurses assistants. When we understood that they wanted to be a part of the air quality voice, we created a program called Medical Advocates for Healthy Air, and that started now 5 years ago, and it's growing. We have over 800 members across the state. They play a key role in helping legislators and policymakers understand the role that they have and when they make policy decisions, how it affects health directly in North Carolina and with their patients.
What do you think it is that draws people to share energy with Clean Air Carolina?
Remember a time when smog was a daily issue for us?
Oh, I remember.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've seen changes, and now that we've seen changes, there's something about momentum, right? When things start getting better, people want to continue that movement, to keep improving. And just because we can't see air pollution now, we still have air pollution. And just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not there. And Clean Air Carolina is working to make air visible, and we've got everything we do really now is trying to make air visible to people.
On that point, can you share a little bit about your citizen science work, and particularly Particle Falls?
It was an art and science project by Andrea Poli out of the University of New Mexico that used hacker maker technology. The LED in your remote control for your TV was hooked up to a lens and it measured the particles in the air, and she used a software program to translate into this incredible blue waterfall that was projected in Charlotte on 10 stories on the UNC Center City building. And when a truck or a bus or pollution from sources we had no idea where they came from passed by, this blue waterfall of light turned into this fireball of light. Pretty amazing to get this project, because the previous year it was in Paris at the Paris Climate Talks across from the Eiffel Tower as a backdrop for this incredibly wonderful world commitment to clean the air across our earth. So getting it here in Charlotte was pretty dynamic for us, for Clean Air Carolina. More importantly, we took Particle Falls to Raleigh, 2 blocks from the legislative building this year. We were in downtown Raleigh in the warehouse district, projecting for 4 weeks, and really having an amazing opportunity to have the real value of real-time visualization of air pollution, from someone smoking to a bus driving by, or more importantly, what we saw both in Charlotte and in Raleigh, when we saw a clean vehicle pass by or a group of cyclists pass by and nothing happened. Wow. That was as impactful to people as when the dirty bus or a dirty vehicle passed by and it went to this fireball of light.
This was the first time I was ever able to see those in the background statistics, numbers, metrics being converted into a visual experience that you could relate to. It was amazing.
People get that there has to be some new way of, rather than zeros and ones and long spreadsheets of numbers, there are new ways to take a look at our air and what's in our air.
It's my understanding that you're taking this the next step with a citizen science program where local communities, local groups, polluters even, will be able to use similar instruments to derive their own measurements of the air in their area. What's that? What's going on there?
We've brought handheld monitors, low-cost air sensors that we're making available to individuals, to schools, to businesses, to non-government organizations, to anyone who's interested in measuring air in North Carolina, and particularly particulate matter, this kind of insidious pollution that comes into our lungs and our bodies that we can't ever expel. Some types of pollution like carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, when we get away from the exposure, we recover from that. Well, particulate matter gets into our body and stays in our body, so we feel it's very important to take a look at. But we have a new program called Air Keepers that we can deploy monitors for up to a year in any location. What it does is it gives readings every second of every hour of every day for people to look in real time what's going on outside on their air. So the more that we deploy, the more we understand how air moves through the community. We have a great example here in Mecklenburg County. If you visit our website at cleanaircarolina.org, you can take a look at that. But you can see a series of 10 monitors now in Mecklenburg County. We had a great example for one of our air keepers. Ms. Maddie Marshall in the Northwest Corridor had asked us to give a presentation at Johnson C. Smith's STEM class. And during that presentation, we saw this airflow pattern that did not affect our two farthest monitors in the county. But we saw one monitor start to pop, to increase its numbers, to change colors to more unsafe levels. And we went to a wind screen and understand that the wind was going in a particular direction. So we put an egg timer on it in real time, and we saw this wave of pollution pass through the county and then disappear. Pretty amazing that you can start seeing these things that happen every day in our lives. Sure. That we can't avoid, that we didn't know about, but they're not going to show up on our averages. The monitors that are used by the state and the federal government, they work on averages. So we never really see these kinds of incidents that are occurring every day.
There are groups out there who might suggest and have suggested that the air quality regulations and clean air, you know, it impedes our economy, and it's really bad, right? To invest in scrubbers or, you know, educating the population is going to create people who could get in the way, you know. So I've really got to ask, you know, does clean air really impact health?
We've got some great statistics about just how air quality affects us. You know, there's COPD, chronic obstruction pulmonary disease, there's heart disease. We're seeing how air quality and air pollution in particulate matter specifically can affect our skin, can affect our heart, can affect our brain, can affect Alzheimer's, can affect our lungs, can affect our blood. Once this kinds of pollution gets in our body, it stays in our body and triggers a whole series of dominoes of negative health outcomes. A real statistic that for Mecklenburg County is one that I use often, is the number one cause of absenteeism in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools is asthma.
Wow.
So if we can take the cost of kids missing out of important schools and talk about how that impacts their test grades and test scores, if we can take that number and put a dollar amount to it, that's a pretty big number. If we take the cost of parents having to miss work to take their kids from school or to the doctor, that's a pretty significant number.
Absolutely.
Doctors' visits, that's another significant number. So if we can talk about how air quality affects health, we can then talk about how air quality affects people's lives and economies, our state's economy, our national economy.
So there is a balance. It's not one-sided. It's not just a cost. It's an investment in our health and in our future.
That's right. It may cost a little to put a scrubber in, but you're not affecting the community in which you're constructing, moving people in, traveling to and from.
That's powerful, and thank you for that. What kind of advice would you give to somebody sitting at home who has an issue, but they're not really sure how to go about making change? What advice?
For the past 2 years, we've been developing what we call an advocacy manual.
Wow.
It's great that we have a pyramid of activists out there. Some have the highest level of education, that have the MDs, that have the PhDs, that are really scientists and specialists in their field. But the ground level, the base of the pyramid is you and me. And we try to create this advocacy manual for anyone. We have an advocacy manual that will help teach you how to make a phone call, how to write a letter to the editor, how to write your congressman, how to prepare yourself to speak in front of a city council member. We have outlined in examples so that anybody who has an interest can come to Clean Air Carolina, check out our advocacy manual, and really become practice in how to change your voice into a vote.
Kind of a how-to.
That's right.
For local folks, but they can also apply it to other issues.
That's right.
How do people get in touch and keep up with you?
Oh, sure. Well, we have our website is cleanaircarolina.org, and within that website it's been newly revamped. So we have our Medical Advocates for Healthy Air program, our Clear the Air for Kids program, and we also have our newly formed Airkeeper program. If you are a student and want to be involved, we have internship opportunities. If you are a professional and want to be involved, we have advocacy opportunities. If you're a medical professional and want to take care of your patients better and understand how air pollution affects your patients, we have our Medical Advocates for Healthy Air program. And if you want to be a part of our Airkeeper program, we urge you to reach out to us and volunteer. Put your name in the hat to either host a monitor, to donate to host a monitor at another location, or to understand how you can monitor your air in your community in real time. And all that's coming online as we speak at cleanaircarolina.org.
Fantastic. Terry, thank you and all the folks at Clean Air Carolina for what you do. I know that our community is better because of your work, and it reaches far beyond right here too. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Clean Air Carolina is an example of a best-in-class nonprofit organization, no doubt. And what a great program the Airkeepers is, putting leading-edge science in the hands of everyday people like you and I, so we can know more about the air we breathe. Wow, what a great concept. Switching gears a little, some of my favorite advocacy work is in the arts, whether it's reciting poetry with 100,000 Poets for Change, writing a song for Musicians United to Protect Bristol Bay, or even attending an art build. It's a lot of fun, just a lot of fun. Do you write or enjoy poetry, singing, playing an instrument, what have you? Your voice matters in so many ways. Artists really have a platform that many others just don't have. Next up is a group of local musicians and advocates with Healthcare Justice NC. They got together to raise awareness to the plight of healthcare in America. Here's Zach Thomas and the Healthcare Singers with Make American Healthcare for All.
Make American healthcare for all. Make American healthcare for all. An emergency room, a doctor, a nurse, just what you need since you're feeling worse. But now you're laid up and you don't have a dime, and you might not get there to see them in time. Oh, make American healthcare for all. Not just for the rich who shop at the mall. Bankruptcy, homelessness, insurance tricks. Temperatures are rising, but the healthcare is sick. The French, the German, Japanese, and the Swiss enjoy healthcare without financial risk. But if you live here in the US of A, who's gonna care for you if you can't pay? So make American healthcare for all. Not just for the rich who shop at the mall. Bankruptcy, homelessness, insurance tricks. Temperatures are rising, but the healthcare is sick. As children we learn the moral commands, to care for the weak, to give helping hands. Our Pledge of Allegiance calls us to stand with liberty and justice for all in this land. So make American healthcare for all, not just for the rich who shop at the mall. Bankruptcy, homelessness, insurance tricks. Temperatures are rising, but the healthcare is sick. Make American healthcare for all. Make American healthcare for all. Make American healthcare for all. For all. Make American healthcare for all.
Okay, so earlier in the program, we followed a group of people into their congressional representative's local office. The images you are seeing now are from the town hall conducted at their request. How about that? Very cool. So I caught up backstage with Representative Alma Adams of the 12th District here in North Carolina, who shares her views on the power of the people backstage at the town hall. Here's Alma.
Citizens need to be calling. They need to be faxing, texting. If you don't get a response in Washington, you need to call your district offices here, because I can tell you that all of the hundreds and thousands of calls that came in when the House bill was out there, that's the reason that the House bill didn't go any further. I was getting 500-600 calls a day, and many of my colleagues were too. So the citizens need to understand that every call, that every text, every tweet is gonna matter. It's gonna be seen. We record those things, and that is going to be very important. And I want citizens to continue doing that. It's important that we do it this week, that we do it in the next 24, 48 hours, because we don't know what's going to happen.
Phone calls, emails, tweets, all make a difference to your member of Congress. They do count them. Your voice matters on the state and local levels too. Don't forget to call locally. You do matter. So we're going to close this program with some advice from Kojo Ntambu. Kojo was one of the Wilmington 10 who in 1971 faced hostilities and violence perpetuated by white supremacists and KKK offshoots, as well as, yes, even government abuse for, among other things, being the first black students bused into all-white public high schools here in North Carolina. So here's Kojo.
When people see our civil rights being taken away, what do? People need to come together, and they need to get organized. It doesn't matter what organization you become a part of, but become a part of an organization and bring some structure. Keep up with the national trend and see what the issues are. And if that organization is not meeting your satisfaction in terms of addressing the issues, then you get another organization. If you don't like the organization, start one. Just like those ladies Just like those ladies did with right after Trump's inauguration. You don't have to be a part of a normal or standard or standing organization. March ever, right. I think. Start one in your neighborhood. Start one in your house. That's the most important thing in the world. Start your own. But we need organization, and we have to fight. Right on. God bless you, baby. Yeah, man.
It's so important. It's so important. Well, that's it for today. Please comment in the comments section to let us know what you're thinking. This program's not produced for a mass audience, so we really do need your help by sharing this on your timeline or sending it in emails out to your friends, what have you. But we're not going to get out there because of corporate funding. Probably just the opposite. So help us out, would you please? Closing for us today is Nashville's own songstress of the people, Annie DeChant, with her quite meaningful song, Out There. See you next time, and hey, do something to improve the human condition, will you? Get out there, let's make it happen.
People thought they were off their rockers. They'd never get that airplane off the ground. Till one morning out in Kitty Hawk in that Carolina sky, she flew 12 seconds before she came back down. Then people thought the sky was the limit, that going to the moon could not be done. But when the eagle landed, that brave space cowboy took one small step and proved everybody wrong. Out there, dancing on a wire, out there, running through the fire. They ain't afraid to fall, they live to risk it all. If you're gonna do a lot, then you gotta be a little out there. A seamstress from Montgomery, Alabama, stayed seated on a bus and took a stand. That brazen little move caused a revolution. She broke every boundary when she wouldn't budge an inch. So if you think that you won't make a difference, that what you're trying to prove is too bizarre, remember it's the dreamers, the do-or-die believers, that march right into history just being who they are. Out there, dancing on a wire, out there, running through the fire. They ain't afraid to fall, they live to risk it all. If you're gonna do a lot, then you gotta be a little out there. Busting down the fences, out there, damn the consequences. Let's live to risk it all, and don't be afraid to fall. If we're gonna do